Ethan never believed in miracles until the night the mirror whispered her name. The storm outside raged with thunder that shook his small apartment, yet his reflection stood still, until it blinked back at him. Behind the glass was a girl, not a reflection but a real person standing in a world that looked just like his, only darker, lonelier, and broken. Her eyes were deep blue oceans filled with sadness, and when she lifted her trembling hand, his heart skipped. The glass between them shimmered faintly like a breathing wall, alive, aware, waiting. "Who are you?" he mouthed, his breath fogging the surface. Her lips formed the word, Arya. From that night onward, midnight became their meeting time. The storm returned every night like a clock's heartbeat, and she was always there, her world drenched in moonlight and ash, his filled with hope and questions. They couldn't speak, but their gestures told stories words never could. Ethan started writing on the mirror with a marker, and though the words vanished on his side, he'd see her smile as glowing letters appeared on hers. It was impossible love, a reflection made of two lives that were never meant to touch. Yet the more he saw her, the less his world felt real. He began noticing tiny cracks around his mirror, small shifts like his own reflection fading slightly whenever she smiled. One night, she wrote, "Your world is my past." He froze. "What do you mean?" he scrawled. She looked away, tears falling like silver rain. The mirror's glow flickered violently as if it could no longer hide the truth. And then, for the first time, he heard her voice, faint, breaking through the storm. "You died in my world, Ethan." The lights burst, the glass rippled, and his reflection shattered into fragments that spiraled into endless black. When Ethan opened his eyes, the air tasted like dust and sorrow. He was lying on cold wooden floors that used to be his, only now they were cracked and covered in soot. The sky outside was gray, the air silent as if the world had forgotten how to breathe. Then he saw her, Arya, standing in the doorway, tears streaming down her cheeks, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Ethan," she whispered, her voice trembling like a fragile note, "you came through." His head spun, the reality of what happened slowly sinking in. The mirror had brought him to her world, the world that should not exist. Around him, everything was lifeless, burned trees, shattered windows, and the faint echo of what once was home. "This is my world," Arya said softly, "the world after you were gone." Her words carved through him like ice. She showed him a photo of them together, his arm around her, his smile bright. The date on the back read 3 years ago. He realized he wasn't just in another place, he was in another version of existence where his own death had already happened. "I saw you through the mirror after you were gone," Arya continued. "Maybe love doesn't end when life does, it just looks for another way to return." Ethan reached for her hand, and for the first time, his touch didn't vanish. The air around them shimmered, a pulse of light spreading from their fingers to the edges of the world. Every breath they shared mended a piece of her dying reality, as if love itself was stitching the universe together. But even as he held her, he felt a pull deep inside, a reminder that one world cannot contain two souls from different realities for long. Still, in that fragile moment between existence and illusion, Ethan smiled. "If love can bring me across worlds," he whispered, "then maybe it can save yours too." And as the storm above began to quiet, their reflections disappeared from every mirror on Earth as if the universe itself had finally stopped looking back. Days passed in the silent world. Arya called home. The sun rose pale and colorless, and the stars never returned, but Ethan stayed beside her as if his presence alone could bring light back. Together, they walked through the remnants of what used to be their shared city, two reflections of life colliding in the ruins of fate. Wherever Ethan went, things began to change. Wilted flowers bloomed again, the cold winds grew warmer, and laughter echoed faintly in places that had long been silent. Arya watched him with a kind of awe that carried both love and fear. "You're not supposed to be here," she whispered one evening, her hand resting on his chest. "You're not alive in this world, Ethan. If you stay too long, the worlds will collapse into each other." But Ethan only smiled softly, brushing her hair behind her ear. "Then let them collapse," he said, "because without you, my world means nothing." She wanted to believe him, yet deep inside she knew the truth. His heartbeat was slowing, his reflection fading from every mirror that once connected them. Love had crossed realities, but the balance of the universe demanded payment. That night, As they stood beneath a cracked sky glowing faintly with light, Arya felt something she hadn't in years: hope. For the first time since her world ended, she wanted to live again. But Ethan's eyes grew dim, his voice quiet, his hand trembling as he held hers. "Maybe I was meant to die in both worlds," he murmured, "but at least this time, I didn't die alone." Tears spilled down her face as she whispered, "Don't say that. There has to be another way." The mirror in the distance flickered again, calling him back with soft waves of light, offering him the chance to return to his own world, but he didn't move. Arya realized what he meant to do only when she saw the mirror's reflection brightening behind him. "Ethan, no," she cried, but he smiled, the kind of smile that carried peace, not pain. "You brought me back once," he said softly, "now it's my turn to return the gift." Before she could stop him, he pressed his hand against the glowing glass. The light spread across his arm, wrapping around him like a warm storm of energy. "If I can't live in both worlds," he whispered, "then let my life become the bridge between them." The world shook violently, winds roaring as the two realities began to merge. Arya fell to her knees, shielding her eyes from the blinding light. When the storm faded, she opened her eyes to a world reborn, the colors vibrant again, the air filled with sound and life. The mirror stood whole once more, and when she looked into it, she saw Ethan, not as a ghost, not as a reflection, but as a presence smiling from within the light. "You kept your promise," she whispered, her hand pressed to the glass. From that day on, the mirror never showed her reflection again, it only shone when she smiled. People said her world was blessed by a spirit, one that came from another dimension to restore what was lost. Arya knew better. It wasn't magic, it was love, pure, impossible, and eternal. She spent the rest of her days protecting that mirror, teaching others that love isn't about holding on, it's about giving enough to heal what's broken. Moral lesson: true love doesn't exist to possess or to last forever, it exists to heal, to rebuild, and to remind us that even across the boundaries of time, worlds, and death, real love always finds a way to shine again.